joining us, he's following on from the last message that I preached. We are reading from Luke chapter 22, verses 47 to 52. While he was still speaking, a crowd came up, and the man who was called Judas, one of the 12, was leading them. He approached Jesus to kiss him, but Jesus asked him, "Judas, are you betraying the Son of Man with a kiss?" When Jesus' followers saw what was going to happen, they said, "Lord, should we strike with our swords?" And one of them struck the servant of the high priest, cutting off his right ear. But Jesus answered, "No more of this." And he touched the man's ear, and he healed him. When Jesus said to the chief priests, the officers of the temple guard, and the elders who had come for him, "Am I leading a rebellion, that you have come with swords and with clubs? Every day I was with you in the temple courts, and you did not lay a hand on me. But this is your hour, when darkness reigns."
Thank you, Sally. Thank you, everybody.
I'll stick in this.
Well, it's good to be here and have an opportunity to share with you from God's Word. For those of you who don't know, my name's Pete, and it's my honour and privilege to head up what we're doing in Newport as churches together, or as the Church of Newport, to love our community. We have the privilege of knowing Jesus and knowing his love for us, and we also have the opportunity and the privilege to share that love with people in our community. And I'm going to hopefully have a slightly shorter talk with an opportunity to just share a little bit about what it is that we're doing as churches together, because it's getting increasingly hard to share everything that we're doing because the opportunities God is giving us are growing. We had an AGM just last week for an hour and a half, just trying to rush people through talking about all the things that we've done in that year. But I won't be speaking for that long on that either, but I would like to just have the opportunity to share a few things with you. But first, let's look at this passage in Luke. If you've got a Bible, have it open. Continuing your series of Luke. I don't know if you've ever had a bad day. Whether you've ever found yourself finding yourself in a really difficult situation, a situation that's just too much to bear. Whether it's like a challenge which you just don't know how you're going to get across. Whether you feel a hurt or pain, whether you're feeling alone, whether you actually are alone. We all go through difficult times in life, don't we? And the question that I want to challenge us with this morning is, who are we when we're on our own? And when the doors are closed and it's just you and God, when time's difficult, what is your response? Do you run to Jesus? Do you ignore Jesus? Or do you flee from him? In this passage, Jesus says at the end, this is your hour when darkness reigns. This is the hour of darkness, the hour when things are difficult. You can imagine what it was like for Jesus and for those people. They were coming into a time which was really difficult. So what are there? I want to just take a little bit of time to look at three people from this story and how they reacted to this difficult time, this time when darkness was reigned. And I'm going to start with Judas. Now, Judas was a follower of Jesus. He was one of the disciples. He had spent 3 years walking with Jesus. He spent 3 years listening to his teachings and hearing seeing his miracles. He'd been involved in the feeding of the 5,000. And as he had broken the bread and the fish, it had multiplied in his hands, and a miracle had been done through him. He was one of the 12 that was sent out to drive out demons and to heal the sick and to preach the kingdom of God. And he must have done it, because when it got to the Last Supper, when Jesus said, one of you is going to betray me, no one knew which one it was going to be. They wouldn't say, well, it was Judas. He was the one that was always... No, he was doing a good job at mimicking what it means to follow Jesus. And going through the motions, at standing there, with the rest of them saying, yes, I follow Jesus. But at the last moment, at the darkest hour, he was the one that did the worst thing possible, handing Jesus Christ, the Son of God, the creator of the universe, you and me, over to be killed. It's a horrible thing to read, and it's a horrible thing to see. But what I get from this is that Jesus is wanting us, and he wants our hearts, not just our actions. Jesus said to the Pharisees, or of the Pharisees, in Matthew 50 verse 8, they honour me with their lips, but their hearts are far from me. Are we people that when we're in difficult times, when times are difficult, when challenges, are we people that honour God with our lips? We go to church, we lift up our hands, we give God our glory, we go out and feed people, but actually when the chips are down, when times are difficult, we run away from God. Whether we flee from him or worse, we betray him, like Jesus did. Who are we when times are difficult? It's a difficult challenge, because we all have difficult times, and we're all tempted to turn to other things other than Jesus, aren't we? And we've all done it. We've all done it. I've done it. When times are difficult, when you're feeling really lonely, you turn to other things. You just it's too hard to live for Jesus. I'm going to run away. I'm going to do my own thing. I'm going to flee from Jesus. The other person I want to think about is Peter. Now, in this version, it says the one who cut off Jesus' ear, but we know from John 18 that it was Peter that did that, because he has an account of exactly the same story. The disciples were there, and they asked a good question: do you want us to attack with the sword? But they didn't wait for an answer, they just impulsively went. And I think Peter must have not been a very good fighter, because I'm not sure he thought, I know what I'm going to do to stop this army with clubs and things, I'm going to chop off his ear and that will sort it out. No, I think he went for something a bit longer and a bit more substantial and missed. So he wasn't doing very well in it. But his impulse was to, in this time of difficulty, to not follow Jesus, but to almost ignore him completely, ignore what he said. Should I do something? Actually, can't wait for an answer, I'm just going to do it. I don't know if you've ever done that. Yeah. We just like, Lord, I need an answer. When are you going to do this? When are you going to do that? I haven't heard. It's been 3 minutes. Let's do something, Well, what should I do in this situation? No? Okay, well, I'll just do whatever I want. Rather than maybe spending time fasting and praying and thinking and, laying it out before God. What should I do? So in our difficult times, do we, like Peter, do we run away? Do we do our own thing? Do we ignore him? Are we impatient? I wonder what we do when times are difficult. And the other person from the story is clearly Jesus, who really was in the time of darkness. Really was. He was about to do the worst thing possible. One, who suffered by hanging on the cross, to go through that agony and pain. And the second, to be separated from Jesus, from God, from the creator of the universe. He had to be separated from God, and that would have been really hard. See, Jesus had been explaining to his disciples for quite a few weeks now that I am going to have to suffer, I am going to have to die, I'm going to be taken away from you in 3 days, I'm going to come back again. Jesus had a long time to prepare and dread this. When he was at his Last Supper, he had someone betray him, or he knew that someone was going to betray him. We know that later to be Peter as well. And so he was there knowing he had to go through this suffering, knowing how his followers that he worked, how they were going to respond to him, that they were going to reject him. And he knew what was going to happen. And so much so that he went to his normal place and prayed. And it wasn't just praying, he was in anguish. It says that he sweated drops of blood. See, he wasn't having a great time. I don't know if any of you have got so stressed that you've sweated drops of blood. If not, you can't compare your problems to what Jesus had to go through for you and for me. So, and then obviously Judas came and betrayed him with a kiss. And Peter struck off someone's head. He was surrounded by loads of difficult times. People telling him, look, you can get away from this. You don't have to do it. He was asking God, is it possible to not do this? You know, he knew what was happening. It was a really difficult time. And in response, after Peter had put, after all this had happened, after Peter had chopped off this person's ear, he said, enough of this. You know, basically saying, I'm doing this. I have to do this. This is what I have to do. I need to stop trying to resist this. I don't want to do it, but I'm going to do it because I love people, because he loves you, and because he loves me. Enough of this violence. That's not my way. I want you, he said, am I leading rebellion? That you come at me with swords and clubs? Every day I've been with you in the temple courts and you did not lay a finger on me. Because the reality is the Pharisees have been trying to catch him out for a long time. They've been coming up to him and asking difficult questions. But every time he'd given them the perfect answer. And they had no reason to crucify him. They had no reason to get rid of him. They were trying all the tricks in the book and they couldn't do it. They had to do it at a time when darkness, quietly, and they had a small period of time where the Lord allowed darkness to reign, and that's what happens. Jesus was innocent. They could not find any fault in him, and Jesus also could have got out of it. Judas went to the place where he knew that Jesus went to pray. Jesus could have decided, oh no, I'll just pray somewhere different, somewhere else. Well, let's go into a different garden. There's plenty of gardens, let's go to a different one, and then it'll come and I won't be there and no problem. He had, even in that thing, he had the power and showed his power by healing somebody's ear. He could have called down angels, he could have just clicked his fingers and they would have all dropped to their knees dead. He could have got out of it. No, this was Jesus' choice. In his darkest hour, when the chips were down, when things were difficult, when he was facing something worse than any of us can ever go through, he chose love. He chose obedience. He chose not to run away. He chose not to disobey. He chose not to just ignore the problem and maybe I'll die when crucifixion is stopped and, I can have the electric chair or something. He chose, no, I'm doing it now. And it's because of what Jesus did for us that we must do the same. We don't have a God that is distant. We don't have a God that is not loving, that is not caring, that is a way of just thinking, seeing us in our suffering and just thinking, I'm not going to do anything about that. They're suffering. Oh well, never mind. No, here's Jesus that we believe in a God that came to earth, that suffered much more than us, that understands our suffering in every way because he's been through it. He just completely understands, he gets it. So much that he's been through more stuff than we could ever imagine, to the point of sweating blood, of being crucified on the cross, of being separated from the Father. And that is the God that we believe. God truly loves you. He truly cares for you. His choice is to not give up on you, to never turn his back on you, to never say, okay, that's enough. He's a just God, but he's also a loving and a caring God that does the thing, that chose the cross. What is our response to this God going to be when we go home, when we're by ourselves, when our problems, when our difficulties are there? Because we all go through them. We don't often talk about them, but they're there. What are we going to do? Are we going to be people that just honour God with our mouths, but our hearts are far from him? Or are we going to be people that love God with all our heart, mind, soul and strength? Are we going to be people that run to Jesus when times are difficult? Because he has got the problems. Facing up to our problems is the hardest option. There's so many options of escapism. There's so many things to turn to which allow us to not have to deal with any problems. Drugs, everything. Drugs, sex, drugs, and rock and roll. We can choose other things. We can choose to turn away from God. We can choose things that are just going to mean that we don't have to ever deal with the problems. But the reality is we all have things in us that we need dealing with. That we have things that we have to face up to. And I believe the challenge from his word, from this passage, is that what are we going to do? Are we going to run away from God when times are difficult? Are we going to ignore him and just do something else and just escape from, or are we going to run to him like Jesus did? Amen. One of the other things that we get from this passage and from the whole of Scripture is that God is a God of love. You know, through the way he sacrificed himself to Jesus and loved to Jesus. And I just said that I was going to share briefly about Revive. That's what I'm going on to now, just to let you know what's happening. So, we love Jesus and we love his word. And when we read his word, he says time and time again that if you love Jesus with all your heart, soul, mind and strength, the next thing is love your neighbour as yourself. It's not just the next thing, it's part of loving God. So you are all created by God. You're his children. He loves you like you love your children. So much. You know, we all his children are scattered around the whole of this town, and they're suffering, and they're broken, and they're hurting. They're God's children. We have a job to love them, to care for them. You know, if your child was on the streets, or if your child was starving, or your child was suffering, you want to do something about it. And I can't remember, Matthew 24, thereabouts. You know, Jesus said that actually if you feed people, if you give people drinks, if you visit in prison, you're visiting me. Because he loves them so much. And so as Revive, we're convinced that our job as Christians in Newport is to love the whole town of Newport. And our vision for Revive is the whole church loving the whole of the community. So every single person that loves Jesus, that goes to church on a Sunday morning in Newport, let's come together as an army of 500, 600, 700 people, and let's love every single person in our community, all 24,000 and growing of them. Let's take every opportunity. And that's why Revive was set up. Just we thought, well, let's do something, and we started with a couple of projects, and 10 years later we're doing loads of things. You'll be aware that one of the first projects, hopefully, is Parklife. Some of you not seen me before, so Parklife is a big family fun festival. We've done it 10 years in a row. This is the first year in 10 years we're not doing it. Shock horror. Revive is really struggling financially, and we've had a few problems. Not problems, but we've just had so many opportunities of doing other things. We decided to have a year off. The amount of volunteers was getting less and less each year, so we're having a year off. But we're back on the 22nd and 23rd of July 2017. They are, you know, that's booked in. We're about to announce those things, so you can put that in your diary and sign up a year in advance. That would be great, really helpful, rather than turn up on the day, which often happens. It just helps organisation. So that's not happening. A couple of other things that we run the Living Room, which is a community cafe. Has anyone been to the Living Room? Yeah. Good. It's amazing to see. We've celebrated our second birthday this year. We've been going for 2 years now, and just reflecting on how it's been going. It's been really, really encouraging. To the outside, it might just look like a cafe with a little Christian bookshop out the back. But each day, we're having opportunities to love people, to care for people, to pray for people, to listen to people. We've set up a thing called Listen In, where every other Monday people have an opportunity to be formally listen to people. And if that doesn't happen, then there's people to informally listen to people in a cafe. And the staff is having opportunities, people coming in every day just to be listened to be looked after, and we want to love them. Like Jesus would love them. And we also have an opportunity of having an amazing team of volunteers. And actually, for many of them, it's been a real blessing. We've had one young person who I knew through going to houses and needs and seeds projects, and through Newport Youth Cafe. And when we started, we just said, okay, we're going to give some of these guys an opportunity to serve. And it was difficult at times, you know. Till was light a few times, and you don't know who that was, and you know, it was, you know, we're here to work with the community. I'm not pointing any fingers at all, but the point is that this young person, you know, we gave them confidence, we helped them apply for a job. They're now working full time and won an award for being some kind of volunteer from just a couple of weeks ago. I think it was in the paper. Just see their change, and then you know, and it's incredible. We had one person who, when I first asked, would you like to help, they were saying, it's too much, I don't think I could do it. Someone had never worked in their adult life, it would be too much, but came in for a coffee a few times, and then decided to just do an hour as a one-off, doing some washing up behind the scenes. And slowly but surely, I've been working with this person, and they did for about 3 months, did every day, 5 days a week, you know, coming in every day, you know, the backbone behind everything that we're doing, and would say that his mental health and his issues have changed. His mum, who's a doctor, would just talk about how amazed they are with how that's helped. So we're having opportunities, as I'm sure, you know, all the things you do here also happen, but it's just good to know, isn't it, all the different things. And I could have talked about that for a long time, but you know, do get along to the living room, grab a coffee, it's all very cheap, Bible, children's books, cards, loads of gifts, fair trade stuff, community-based art, loads of good stuff. So do use that if you can and want to. You know, it really does help and support the work that we do. The other thing that we've had the opportunity is run Newport Youth Cafe. Newport Youth Cafe is what we have taken over from the council. We've had a few changes, but we have opportunities every week to help really the young people that hang around the bus station, the young people that have nowhere else to go, that kind of just come because it's a place to stay. And we have opportunities to help them educationally, to speak to them as they get kicked out of school, as they try and reintegrate to school, move from school to school, face their exams and stress from parents, stress from teachers. We help them with their confidence and their self-esteem. We help them with their health and well-being. We have loads of opportunities to talk to them about sexual health and about relationships with their mum and dad, their stepdad, their stepmum, their foster parents, their carers, their grandparents, their aunties and uncles, whoever is their next of kin, their children, and all, you know, and as well as relationships with each other and the boyfriend and girlfriend relationships. They turn up, and you know, almost every session we have people that's broken up, or you know, we have so many opportunities to talk and help them through that. We promote healthy eating, physical exercise, and we're really encouraging that. We've got a lot of substance misuse. We talk to them about their drugs, their alcohol, and their smoking habits. You know, we just have frank conversations about them. Do you know anyone that doesn't smoke weed? And they'll look at you like you've asked them like the most stupid question possible, like you don't know what life is like in the 21st century. So we have conversations, and we say to them as they come in, you can tell us anything you like, and unless you're dangerous to yourself or someone else involved in significant criminal activity, we don't have to pass that information on. So if you come to us and say, I've been shoplifting for alcohol weekend and getting stoned, we don't have to pass that information on to anybody, because we're here primarily for you. And that opens up opportunities for them to talk about their habits, how often they smoke, how often they get drunk, how often they get stoned. And then they come to us and say, I used to get stoned all day, every day, and now I only do it at the weekends. We're like, well, hey, high five, we're doing well, we've got progress. And we have the opportunities to kind of talk through all these different things and dealing with issues. Crime prevention is a big one. We help them if they're going to court, if they've got issues with seeing their children, or we help them with that. If we help them keep their tag, they've got to be back at time. We're like, mate, 6 o'clock, you've got to be home in half an hour, make sure you're home on time. And encourage them that, you've only got to do this for 3 months, and then that's it. You've not been around Newport High Street for 2 years, just do 3 months, and you're there. And we can start again. So we can have these positive conversations. We talked about life skills, anti-bullying, housing, as they move from house to house. So that's Newport Youth Cafe. Food bank we do here, lots of you are involved in that. I could talk for hours about that as well, but we're feeding people. Last year it's just over 14,000 people we fed that came through our door, and from this centre in 1 year, I think it's, I've probably got the number somewhere here if I looked. I have. 1,417 people we fed, which is that was 637 vouchers, 887 adults and 530 children, with 3 days worth of emergency food for people in crisis. And alongside that, we're having opportunities to chat with people just coming to a coffee and look after people. We've got a charity shop, which is on Newport High Street, which people can donate to, and people can go. Even through that, we're just having opportunities to talk, pray, listen to people, as well as giving them bargains. I've got so many good bargains. I've got like loads of new clothes and stuff as well, so it's helping me out. So it's saving me pennies as well as making some money for Revive. And then that's what I want to say. You can ask me about any other thing. We are going to have an opportunity for all our volunteers to get together. We haven't got our volunteers together as a group for about 3 years now, and so what we've got is on the 30th of July we've got a free barbecue for all our volunteers. So if you have been involved in Revive, maybe you've had a Parklife, food bank, pastoral presence, whether you've ever given, whether you've ever said a prayer for Revive, or whether you know someone that does, and then you can come along and have free food. It's going to be in a field in Chell. So you go down the main road in Chell, look for the balloons and the sign and the person with the high-vis jacket, and directly there's going to be parking there. We're going to have our gladiator jousting and sumo wrestling out, so you can bring your children, you can bring your whole families. We're just going to have a bit of fun together, eating and having fun, cricket, football, welly throwing. We've got a few little things planned. So do come along. It'd be really helpful if you could sign up if you are coming. Because we've got obviously catered for everybody. We want to know how many burgers you're going to eat, etc., and how much pavlova to make. So we're making pavlova. That swings it for you. That's good. So do sign up. Come and speak to me afterwards, or if I'm not here in the coming weeks, do speak to Tony or any of the leadership team here, because they will get you signed up. I don't think I need to say any more. Oh yeah, at that time we will talk more about all the things that I've said. We'll expand on things, we'll have different people's testimonies about some of the work we're doing. We're going to celebrate the work of Revive. So do come along and meet different people and different churches and have fun. I'm going to pray and then hand over to